Hi, this is Trevor Jones, and my work blends traditional techniques with modern tech. You're tuned in to the Edge of NFT, your modern choice for insights on cutting-edge art and technology. Keep listening.
Hey, Web3 curious listeners, stay tuned for today's episode where we'll uncover how Trevor Jones went from canvas to crypto, transitioning from traditional art to becoming one of the most innovative forces in the Web3 and NFT digital art space. Also, discover the story behind the legendary castle parties and their impact on the digital art community, and what one of the most legendary artists in the Web3 space considers his most prized possession. All this and more on the Edge of NFT. Cue the intro.
Welcome to the Edge of NFT, the podcast that brings you the top 1% of Web3 today and what will stand the test of time. We explore the nuts and bolts of the business side and also the human element of how Web3 is changing the way we interact with the things we love. This podcast is for the dreamers, disruptors, and doers who are pumped about this ecosystem and driving where it goes next.
Welcome to Edge of NFT, the podcast created by Jeff Kelly, Ethan Janney, and myself, Josh Krieger, featuring a variety of top-notch guests and other hosts. It's another production of the Edge of Company, a quickly growing media ecosystem empowering the pioneers of Web3 tech and culture and responsible for other groundbreaking endeavors like Outer Edge Innovation Festival in LA and Riyadh. Today's episode features a very special guest, Trevor Jones, a Canadian artist who melds traditional art with cutting-edge digital technologies, known for augmented reality innovations, high-profile portraits like Jordan Peterson, and groundbreaking NFTs such as the Bitcoin Angel, which grossed over $3.2 million. Trevor Jones' art blends historic artistry with modern digital techniques, creating immersive, multi-sensory experiences that push the boundaries of conventional canvas through collaborations, charity events like the Castle Party, which we'll talk about, and upcoming projects like his Bitcoin Angel bronze sculpture in a new Steampunk series. So lots going on in the world of Trevor, and we'll bring him out and start the conversation. Trevor, great to have you on the show.
How's it going, Josh? Nice to be able to speak with you.
Yeah, likewise. And thanks for joining us a little on the late side from Scotland. How is it over there right now?
It's all right. Because we're so high up north, it's still light outside. And actually today was a nice day, sunny. It wasn't raining for a change. So yeah, it's been a good day, although I've been inside most of the time working.
Yeah, I was just in the northern part of North America, in Vancouver Island for my birthday, and it was beautiful. I got to experience rain in sort of the lush forest and woods and stuff. I'm sure you're used to all that.
I actually grew up in BC, in the
Oh, wow.
Okanagan, so yeah. So that's kind of my old stomping grounds. But then went on a backpacking trip when I was about 25 around the world, and 3 years later ended up in Scotland and got stuck, and here I am, 25 years later.
Very cool. Yeah, we're gonna chat about that a little bit. But yeah, I mean, you do such interesting stuff in the space, and it's a true honor to have you on the show. Thanks to your team for reaching out, and looking forward to this conversation. But given the nature of your art, I wanted to just sort of ask, when you were growing up in Canada, what were your dreams like? Did you sort of have dreams where you were like thinking about creating art that people can literally step into? Was that part of like, the early sort of genesis of all this?
Absolutely not. I wish I could say yes, but absolutely not. I always enjoyed art, like most kids. I was good at it. I think I had dreams of being an artist up until maybe about 8 or 9 years old, and then I moved on to the next thing, whatever that was. I moved to Vancouver from the little village. I grew up in a little place called Lumbee, of a population around 1,200 at the time, and I decided I wanted to be a rock star. So I moved to Vancouver when I was 18, failed miserably, came crawling back when I was about 20, and I didn't know what I wanted to do. So I just kind of bounced around all over the place. And that's when I left to go traveling, and I was about 25, 26, to Australia. And in 1999, ended up in Scotland, I was working in hospitality for the most part, just kind of working my way around the world and getting jobs wherever I could. Had a bit of a crossroads when I hit early 30s here in Scotland. And for whatever reason, I have no idea, I decided that art would save me. Art would provide all the answers to those existential questions that I was asking myself at that time. And I decided to become an artist and went to a small art school to do a foundation year, and then ended up going to Edinburgh College of Art and Edinburgh University the next year for a 5-year program called Fine Art program, kind of mixed between drawing and painting at the college and studying history of art at the university. So yeah, it never started off as planning on being an artist, but here I am.
Well, clearly, you had creativity in your veins, just trying to figure out the right medium to express it. Were you sort of behind the scenes on the drums, or were you the singer when you're in your short-lived music career?
I was the bassist, actually.
Okay.
And thank God they didn't have America's Got Talent or Britain's Got Talent at that time, because I thought I was a good singer. But then I listened to myself back and I hear myself now, and I'm the absolute most horrific singer in the world. So yeah, it's probably a good thing I never ended up following through on the art or the music career.
There's some sort of art project in this, though, at some point. I'm not sure exactly what, but
the funny thing is, actually, I was just talking to my wife, Violet, and she was asking me literally just 2 days ago. She said, Trev, all you do is art. You're at the studio, you work. You just focus on art, talk about your art career, talk about what's happening. She said, you need to find a hobby, and what would you like to do? And I had literally no idea. And she said, why don't you pick up that bass guitar? It's still there. I still have it in the house here, and start up that old man blues band that I always talked about doing. But you never know. Maybe when I'm in 67 years old, I'll be picking up the bass again and start playing some blues in some old pubs around Scotland.
Yeah, you never know. That's really cool. Well, I definitely have to get over to Scotland sooner than later. So if you invite me to your concert, I'll probably just show up. So
Absolutely.
So let's talk a little bit more about your career. You went from traditional canvases to creating digital masterpieces. What was that moment where you're like, I can paint things that other people might think are impossible? Like I can do crazy stuff. What sparked that transition to totally going outside the box?
So yeah, like I said, I was 38 when I graduated from art college. I had my first gallery exhibition at about 40, and it was moderately successful. I made enough to pay my expenses and framing and keep going for another year or so. I had another exhibition, another gallery the year after. Again, it sold okay, but really, I realized very quickly that it was going to be almost impossible to make a living as an artist. I was working like most artists do, different jobs. I was running a small arts charity full time. I was teaching part-time art. I was running, Airbnb at a spare room. So I figured out that I needed to differentiate myself some way. There was just so many great artists in even Scotland and Edinburgh. So I didn't know how I was going to do that, but at one point, I think it was about 2011, I started to see these little codes on packaging and that kind of thing, and so discovered the QR codes and thought initially these were quite cool things. Everybody's coming, phones were, smartphones were more ubiquitous at that time coming out, and I started to kind of think, well, maybe I can use this to help promote my upcoming exhibition. And before that even happened, actually, the exhibition opened, I was already thinking, like, what if I can paint these QR codes, but like big QR codes with oil paint on canvas? They could actually be scannable and be able to engage people in a new way, like an artist had never done before. And so that was the kind of the beginning of it. I also realized that it was important that it wasn't just a gimmick, that the tech incorporation actually offered something of value, something of meaning and significance to the message of the work. With those QR codes, I started built a website with a friend of mine who's my tech guru, and me being just the artist. But we built a website that people from around the world, artists, could upload their own art to it. It became like an online gallery.
What was the timing there?
That was 2012.
Okay.
So yeah, 12 years ago. And at the time, nobody was doing anything like this. I was seeing online some people were experimenting with QR codes with their art, but it was something more immediate, like a link to a piece of poetry, or maybe just directly to their website or something like that. But I thought, like, what we have here is an opportunity to expand into this global digital world with other people involved. So yeah, it was people could around the world could upload their own artwork to this online gallery. They could upload their details and contact details. They could share things through social media. And before I even realized what community was, I was building a community online around my paintings, because people could scan my QR codes and then access this whole world of art and innovation and new artists.
That's pretty amazing. I in a former life, I experimented with QR codes. I had a sustainable hat company, and we told the story of the collaboration with the artists using QR codes on the back of the packaging. This was 2020, so you're ahead of me. You're ahead of most people in the space, and nowadays QR codes are sort of ubiquitous with sort of museums and storytelling and sort of enhancing the experience of sort of the process of learning about art and the creation process, right? So it's come a long way to sort of mainstream adoption from those early days.
It has, yeah. There was definitely a lot of pushback and struggle that I experienced back then.
I feel like COVID helped, right? I mean, during COVID, people didn't want to touch menus at restaurants, and so all of a sudden QR codes were part of the restaurant menu experience. And I feel like that was a meaningful moment for people to get comfortable with using QR codes in all facets of life. Maybe just my theory, but it certainly seems like it had an influence.
Yeah, that could be it. I think, I mean, I was exploring QR codes kind of 2012, 2013, I moved to augmented reality, but, I was always interested in how QR codes could be incorporated with art. But it seemed that QR codes were on the way out, by shortly after I was using them. And yet there was, 100% there's been this resurgence, and now they're used in all different ways and formats and for different things. So it's nice to see that the QR codes are thriving again.
Yeah, it sort of leads me to a broader conversation I wanted to have with you about sort of the challenges and opportunities of blending traditional art with digital mediums, and how you've sort of encountered what sort of challenges you've encountered over the years and how you've tried to overcome them.
Yeah, it's been quite the journey. So when I first created this QR code paintings and a website, and I thought, like, holy smokes, this is amazing, this is incredible, like artwork that hasn't been done before, and such a way that, like I said, it really expands and opens up the digital world, and accessing other people all around the world, and this communication taking place through these paintings, essentially like a digital windows to another universe. And I thought, like, okay, this is my ticket. I'll have art galleries all over the world, knock on my door trying to ask me to show my work. And yet it was pretty much the opposite. There was nothing but tumbleweeds and crickets. Nobody was interested in the work. I was submitting them to different open exhibitions, the Royal Scottish Academy, Visual Art Scotland, online events, things like that. And it was just constant rejection. Nobody understood what they were, or at that point. I mean, the traditional art world is, for the most part, quite conservative in general, and especially in Scotland. The galleries want to show artwork that is recognizable and popular, landscapes, seascapes, cityscapes, portraits, that kind of thing, and abstracts. And And so when I was trying to sell galleries on QR codes and innovation, it was nothing but pushback. So that led me to the next year to augmented reality. And, at that point, I'm thinking, okay, now I don't have to, I'm not restricted to painting these square code-like things. I can paint anything I want. Again, now that becomes the target image recognized by an app, an AR app. And so now I could actually create animations or videos and overlay this digital content with music and tags to click on to social media elements, whatever I wanted to do. And through a series of paintings I created, I think it was 2013 was my first AR painting. It was about storytelling. And again, I was working towards these projects and I was putting the work out there, and there was literally no galleries interested in what I was doing. And I'm thinking, holy smokes, I must be crazy, because in my head, this makes complete sense. This is something, brand new. This is transforming a painting into a story through almost like a movie, and something like out of a Harry Potter book or something. And it just didn't make any sense to me that there was literally zero interest from the traditional art world. I was even hiring spaces at art events like the Edinburgh Art Fair and putting my work up, and along with hundreds of other artists and galleries, and thousands of people would come through over the next few days. And the only people who were interested in my art were were children, kind of between the ages of 5 and 15, 16 years old. And
so young collectors.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, they were just so fascinated. They were like, holy smokes, this is a magic painting. And the parents,
it makes
the
you feel like
grandparents,
the adults have to become a little bit more childlike in their sort of sense of imagination again.
Yeah, absolutely. The kids they got it immediately. And me being me, I was I'm thinking, okay, this is my job now. I'm an artist. I will persist. I will persevere. And all I have to do is wait another 15 to 20 years for these kids to grow up and become doctors and lawyers and art buyers. And then I will have my market, but I just have to keep on going. So even though there were many times that I thought, I need to just get back to basics, just paint paintings that people are going to like. I go back to commercial galleries, stop hiring my own spaces, put on my own exhibitions because nobody was wanting to show my work. I would think like that for a few days after each rejection, but then I'd get right back at her and start I'm going to follow this through. I do feel that there's something important here that I need to experience and explore.
So did that turn out to be the case where it was just a matter of time and sort of the younger generation stepping up to the plate and becoming, the consumers of art and the buyers? Or did something shift in society, or did you sort of shift your approach in some way? When did things start to really take off, and what triggered that?
It really was just the aligning of the stars. All these things came together at the right time. So it was about 2016. I had another exhibition called "Would I Lie to You?" The Art of Politics and Propaganda, and it was made up of about 12 world leaders painted with rubbish, garbage, and oil paints, portraits, Putin and Trump and Hillary and David Cameron. And I ended up selling all of those works to one collector here in Scotland. And what that did for the first time as an artist gave me some ability to have a bit of financial stability. And that led me on to start looking at different investment opportunities. I ended up investing in Bitcoin in 2017. And what happened was I just became consumed by this space, and I decided that this was something that I wanted to explore with my art. So also what was happening was I was investing at the perfect time, the bull run of mid 2017, and I was a noob investor, but it's very easy to make money when it's a bull run. So I'm thinking like I'm a genius.
Yeah,
There's
we
nothing
all
I can do wrong.
thought we were in 2017. Then we learned reality in 2018.
Exactly. That's exactly what happened. I was making money hand over fist. I mean, not huge, but more than I ever made as an artist. And I'm thinking like I can just make money trading shit coins and then do whatever, paint whatever I want. So I ended up deciding I'm going to commit all of 2018 towards a crypto themed exhibition, and I call it Crypto Disruption. But yes, as you said, 2018 hit, and the bear came and destroyed everything, and I lost all the money I'd made, or all the crypto I'd made. I was broke again, but I was already fully invested in the space and the concept behind the exhibition. So I was back to working odd jobs just to get enough money together to pay the bills.
I want to pause there for a moment and just reflect on sort of the early observation that you had again around the intersection of art and technology, because I don't think there were too many artists at that moment that were diving deep into the Bitcoin ecosystem. And, we've talked about on the show, Vesa back on episode 6, I think it was, talked about how the genesis of computer art was sort of programming code into art in the 1950s. But at that moment, Bitcoin was very much a speculative asset class and had a sort of mixed reputation in the mainstream. It was the moment where I didn't have my blockchain sort of interest on my LinkedIn profile, right? It was all sort of the secret other stuff that we did. We were in the closet, so to speak. So when you were doing that, did you think that there would be an opportunity that sort of has now manifested around this intersection of art and technology and NFTs and Web3? And it's been a roller coaster. We'll get into that.
Mm-hmm.
But at that moment, did you have that vision in your head, or was it just pure like experimentation?
It was pure experimentation, pure risk taking, pure creativity driven entirely by something that I was fascinated by. And like you said, and like Vesa said, back then in 2017, there weren't really any. I didn't know of any artists. I was looking online for art galleries that were selling crypto themed artwork. By that time there were some artists using augmented reality, but no artists that I saw, traditional painters, using augmented reality with crypto themed art. So for me to invest a year's worth of time and money, very little money that I had, into an exhibition, and again higher than my own gallery space because galleries weren't interested in showing my work, putting on the opening night, inviting people that I knew, and also knowing that there would probably be no buyers in Scotland. It was just, it was looking back now, it was a ridiculously stupid thing to do, but I just followed my vision and I guess my drive to try something new that nobody else or that I knew of was actually doing, and that's actually where it all turned around, because the exhibition opened end of October, and by August I was like posting things online on Twitter, works in progress, talking about this exhibition I'm working towards, and I started to find people within the ecosystem, some other artists, mostly digital artists, and Vesa and a lot of money, some other people, Coldy, that began to talk with, but also I had 2 buyers of the paintings before the exhibition even opened, and that just blew my mind that there would be people out there in the world who would see my work online. And I think the paintings I sold were £5,000, and I think £8,500. So it was like about $8,000 to $14,000, which was the most I'd ever sold an artwork for. And for somebody just to, out of the blue, to reach out to me and say how much, and I say, here's a number. They say, give me your Bitcoin wallet address and I'll transfer the money. And I said, okay, and I'll have to send you the painting in November after the exhibition finishes. And for them to do it, it was this really mind-blowing experience that, I mean, I couldn't get my head around. It made no sense coming from the traditional art world, where you go through a gallery owner sells the work, you hope to get the money a month or two down the line after everything's, you know, been sold up. For me to get money, Bitcoin sent to me immediately, and for the sale of an artwork that somebody had just seen on Twitter, I couldn't get my head around it.
Very cool. Yeah, and thus the beginning. And at that point, sort of we get, you know, into 2021. We started the show in March, which was when Bored Ape Yacht Club also came out, and I assume, you know, around that time you're not only doing your own pieces, but you're starting to do some interesting collaborations, because co-creation is sort of in the DNA of this space. What have been some of the collaborations that sort of came about after, you know, those early days, and how do you choose collaborators?
Yeah, some of my biggest collabs were the end of 2020. So there was Jose Dalbo. I did another A Lot of Money piece, ETH Boy, the sister piece to ETH Girl, and then Pack. I did a Pack collab, which was December 2020, and that was a huge success. For choosing the artist that I would like to collaborate with, it's each one is different. You know, I think finding somebody that I respect and that I admire, but also somebody who is very different to me and to my work. So somebody who is going to push me and to challenge me, and each collaborator is different too. Every relationship is different. So some, like with A Lot of Money, was just super easygoing and a lot of fun. With Pack, it was much more kind of high stress, high expectations, high demand. And, you know, I love them all for different reasons. You know, with the Jose Dalbo collab, it was something, you know, that I was kind of more leading. He was about the only guy in the space who was older than me. I think he was at the time, he just passed away last year, unfortunately, but he was, I think, 85, 86 years old. And I was about 50, early 50s at the time. And we laughed because it was like a record-breaking drop. We did something like 540 ETH on that drop. And I mean, there's a huge thing. There's a giant auction, and both of us had fallen asleep before it even ended. It was that's how old we were.
I used to be a net owl, but I'm an early bird as well. That I so that's something interesting to wake up in the morning to. How early in the morning did you get up and look at your computer or your phone?
I think I probably got up about 7:30. And
okay, I would have got up earlier. I would have, like, you know, I would have been like, my body would have like prompted me to get up at like 5 a.m. even just because the anticipation.
Yeah. That did happen with my first drop in end of 2019 with A Lot of Money, my Genesis piece, and that was like a massive success at the time. It was 70 ETH. And yeah, I mean, I fell asleep at about 2 o'clock in the morning. I just couldn't stay up. It was just, this auction was going on and on and on. And I ended up waking up probably about 5, 6. But I would wake up occasionally throughout the night and look. It was like, holy smokes, you know, like, you know, it was just 30, 40, 50. So I think, you know, a couple more years later, I just can't handle these late nights anymore. And I managed to sleep until about 7:30.
Yeah, good for you to you know, figure out that balance. I have not figured out the balance of this world of Web3 and media and events and trading and, you know, all of it. You know, if you know something I don't know, we'll talk about that more offline. But let's talk about the Bitcoin Angel, which was one of your massive successes as well. And I'm curious here, how did this project shape your career and influence future endeavors?
It literally transformed everything. I think you'd mentioned at the beginning, I was like, it's February 2021, big drop on Nifty Gateway. It was a one-day event, actually. So from palette to canvas, I had 14 artworks, paintings that kind of retrospective from the previous 10 years. And I minted each one of them over the course of the 10 years. So those were one-on-ones and a link to a one-on-one NFT. And the winners of the auctions would be sent these physical paintings. But then there was the open edition of the Bitcoin Angel, the painting from 2018. And that sold 4,158 editions in 7 minutes, which was, I think, $3.2 million. And, again, it was, I can't even explain how it made me feel. There was ecstatic and dread at the same time. Part of me thought like I'd destroyed my career because I'd saturated the market. There was pushback from some collectors saying that, I've ruined my market now because there's too many Bitcoin angels out there. I've got too much artwork on the market. And so I was in this weird space of emotionally and psychologically of I'm finally made it. And I've also ruined my career in one moment. But then the Bored Ape Yacht Club came and, all these different PFP projects literally a month or two later, and there's 10,000 projects happening. And it's like, okay, I'll be okay. And that's one thing I learned about that. And actually a lot of different things from kind of 2019 to 2021 is that every time something happened, there would be some kind of pushback from somebody or some collectors or some people, some artists, and there'd be negativity. And then 2 months later, 3 months later, it would be gone. There would be something different. And so I had to learn throughout that process that, focus on the art, focus on what's important to me, focus on what I'm excited about. If I make a mistake, I do something, put my hand up and accept responsibility. But for the most part, as long as you stay true to yourself and authentic and do create work for the right reasons, you can only stand with your head high, and what other people say, it's not on your shoulders. But yeah, I learned a lot from that. The Bitcoin Angel did definitely also what it did was give me the financial stability to really explore everything that I wanted to do creatively. I didn't have the financial restrictions that I had for my entire art career before that. So I could try new things and experiment and hire people to help me, other creatives and tech, gurus.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that story. And a lot of people ask me for advice as artists on sort of bridging into Web3 and NFTs. And I don't always feel very equipped to answer those questions. And I encourage them to find an artist as a mentor that's actually in the space and has been into the trenches. One question that they asked me that I want to turn to you so I can share this moment with them in the future is around sort of that first collection and overall strategy for releasing art as NFTs. There's an artist I recently spoke with that has this incredible collection of photographs that they've done over a course of time, and there's a lot of uniqueness to this collection. And we're talking about, do you release that as one-on-ones in small amounts, as a larger sort of collection? What's the utility? I know there's not one size fits all answers here, and I know it's all an experiment. Eric Calderon shared that with us in a very sort of honest and authentic way on the show. But what are your reflections at this moment in time in terms of how artists break into this space and how they can sort of, elevate themselves given where we're at now? I mean, it would seem to some like there's a glass ceiling where there's a set of artists like yourself that folks sort of collect and value in spite of the depreciation of a lot of NFTs. And then there's a lot of folks that are having trouble selling their art even for, as a collectible, as a mintable collectible, even if it's a open edition. So I'm sure it's quite a dichotomy, even for you to process. But what are your reflections on in that dichotomy and how new artists sort of enter the space now, given where we're at?
Yeah, that's the $1 million question for sure. Gosh, where do I start? This market moves quickly, which is good and bad. I think if you're an artist coming in the space, or even if you've been in the space for a while and you're trying to chase the next trend, you will inevitably fail. And also, I think on a creative level, you'll just die a little bit inside because you're not creating what you want to do. So I think first and foremost, artists need to be authentic, and really develop their own uniqueness. So innovation and uniqueness is absolutely, and the only way you can do that is by surveying the landscape of artists, seeing what your skills are, who you are as an artist, understanding that, recognizing that, and seeing what other people are doing. Like I said, the space moves so fast. I'm not a digital artist. I am, in the sense that I'm not a coder. I can't do generative art. I'm not into that. I only know what my USP is, and as a traditional artist who embraces new technology. So you have to really understand the landscape, understand where you fit within this growing space, and try to find ways to make yourself stand out. With regards to whether it's a one-on-one drop, or it's a series, or it's an open edition, or it's this or that. Again, the space moves so quick, you just kind of have to read it for it is at that time and decide and try to. And I think also it has to make sense. Man, this space is so crazy. You see artists who do absolute money grabs when the market is hot, and I don't think that's a good way to go about things. But at the same time, we're artists, we have to make money, and if you can make some money, then that's great. But I think for longevity, if you're an artist and you want to stay in the space and as a career, be an artist who is recognized and respected, you have to make smart decisions and responsible decisions, and think about what you're doing and why and how you're dropping and how that's going to potentially affect the market, even though you don't really have control over it. But at least if you think about it, that if somebody asks you why, that you're able to answer the questions.
Yeah, thanks for all that. Obviously, there's probably a whole course, a set of seminars you could give on that topic, but definitely some nuggets in there that folks listening that are inspired by getting into the space can sort of take to heart. And I think part of this world of Web3 and digital art and overall creativity is having fun on the journey. And part of that for you is these castle parties that you do, which have been quite legendary in the crypto art scene. Tell us a little bit more about what inspired these events and what sort of evolved in that area.
The idea came out literally a couple days after the Bitcoin Angel open edition sale. And one of the big collectors messaged me, we were DMing, and he said, well, now that, this has happened, you need to have a castle party in Scotland to celebrate and to, as a kind of thank you to all the collectors. And I just laughed it off. I thought that's ridiculous. But then, the creative mind starts going, and it's like, wait a second. Within a week, I was like, I'm going to have a castle party. That's a great idea. And it just kind of went from there. I have a very small team of 2 people, David and Martin, and Martin kind of is my project manager and just helps me with whatever needs to be helped with. And David is more office and admin and emails. He's also very creative, so he helps with writing and different things. So a very, very small team, but we can do some amazing things. And we started working on a castle party and in Scotland, and it grew into this this event that was going to be an annual event. I had another one last year, but the problem is that it's a great idea, and I love the concept and everything it's grown into, which we can talk about in a bit. but at the end of the day, I'm an artist and not a castle party planner. So it was really taking up most of my year organizing these parties, which was a lot of fun, but it also
you're speaking to
really
a guy
amazing.
that has organized some very large events over the last few years, and they always expand to fill every second of the day of your bandwidth, no matter what. It's like planning an event. You may as well be planning an Indian wedding, right? Like
Yeah.
once you start mixing, people, logistics, and sort of castles and art and technology together, there's a lot to it.
Yeah, it becomes all consuming. Like I said, it's, as you know, it's a lot of fun and very rewarding, but it's, at the end of the day, I'm an artist and not a castle party planner. So it's going to be every 2 years now rather than every 1 year. But and as you know, the ideas that they developed, the first year was a 1-day event, and we tried to put so much into it. It was amazing. And a great castle, Stirling Castle. If you ever get to Scotland, go to Stirling Castle. It's beautiful. But it was just not enough time. And so you have 300 people, and you don't really get the time to meet everybody and to talk, and there's just so much happening and so many different events and entertainment. So last year we had it in France, just an hour south of Paris, at Chateau de Valerie, and it was 3 days and 2 nights. And that was much better, because then people, what I've discovered now that it's grown into, is more about relationships. It's putting on this great event that's in a historical castle with culture and history and art and the fundraiser, the philanthropy part of it, the food, the drink, the entertainment, but bringing together a small group of people that's very different than, say, Consensus or NFT New York City or something like that, and you really build lifelong friends through these types of smaller events when you spend time just building relationships. And so that's the whole kind of fundamentals of these castle parties now, is to put on something that's over the top crazy with amazing entertainment and history and culture, but also raising as much money as possible for the charity. It's a local charity called Maggie's. They're a cancer support charity, and that's in the name of a lot of money, who was my first Genesis collaborator, who died of cancer, unfortunately. And so able to give back to the IRL world, to take everything that is good in this space, in the Web3 space, and to kind of build something beautiful around friendships and relationships and entertainment and art and innovation, and then be able to give back to the real world as well, and have people who look in on this Web3 space from the outside and think, what are all those crazy degens doing with their, Bored Ape, PFPs, but then you can do something and that is really, really important and valuable and life-changing for other people who know nothing about the space.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And, I'd love for you to come to the next edition of Outer Edge Riyadh, which we planned with the same sort of goal of being more intimate and experiential. Our events in LA have had as many as 3,000 or 4,000 attendees, and in Riyadh it was 750 approximately, and a lot of founders. We even mixed in government officials and artists together. We had a bunch of local Saudi artists that came, and performers, and there was a level of intimacy to it, that was quite special. Traffic in Riyadh is really, really bad. So the idea was keep everyone together for the day and evening, in one place, and see what happens. And no one wanted to leave. Whereas in a city like New York, there's 500 different options, right? So I think
Exactly.
I can relate a lot to what you've done. I'm gonna have to go to one of these castle parties one of these days. I'm inviting myself, mainly because I want to get over to Scotland anyways, and I'm a little bit jealous my girlfriend's going. I'm gonna be in Bitcoin Nashville, which I think you'll be at too. What's going on for you in Nashville?
Well, first off, we fly to New York on Saturday, so I'll be there for a few days tribal auction house where I sold to the Archangel just last month, the 21 Archangel collection series. We've sent them the 21 bronze cast sculptures. Actually 20. I've got one here because I'm one of the Archangels too. And so I'm going to be there just to kind of oversee the kind of the packaging and we're shipping out the Archangel, the bronze cast sculptures. And then on the 23rd, we'll fly to Nashville. We're there for probably about 6-7 days, I think. And I've got some artwork up at the gallery there. So I'm just communicating with the Bitcoin conference guys and getting that all sorted out. I'll have one painting, one original frame painting, and 8 limited edition prints. And yeah, looking forward to, I'll have some of my team there as well. So we'll be able to hopefully get out and see some of the conference events and presentations as well.
Cool. Yeah. I know there's going to be a lot going on during that time. I'll share some cool things we're doing, and maybe we can connect IRL before the week is over. So with regard to, this world of technology and art and where things are going, we talked a little bit about your thoughts on the present moment. I wanted to sort of push the boundaries to what are the new things that you're experimenting with, the new technology. Have you dabbled with AI? Where do you think the space is going next? Obviously, no one has that crystal ball, but maybe the question should be like, where are you going next, or where do you want the space to go next?
Oh, a lot of questions there. I don't know where I want to go, the space to go. I think it goes where it goes. And as an artist, we find our path along that way as well. Again, I think it's important for artists who are listening to not try to just jump on the bandwagon. So for me, I've got this big painting behind me I've been working on for ages, Steampunk series. I've got a couple other paintings. So that'll be dropping December, January, February, something like that. Don't know exactly when yet. But I already have plans for my next project I'll start next year. And yeah, it will incorporate paintings, CCTV cameras, worldwide domination, AI, AR, maybe EEG headsets. There's going to be a lot of really cool things. I'm not sure where the physical event will take place yet. I'm just going to start working on, I've got some ideas, but yeah, I'm already excited. That's the thing with being an artist. I'm very good at starting things and terrible at finishing them because I already get ideas for the next project. So
and then you have this 2-person team. I can just imagine, what it's like for them. They just have to buckle up their seatbelts and see where things go, and kind of like bowling with bumpers. It's just like we'll see what happens, right?
Yeah, no, they're amazing. Sometimes I'm thinking like they're gonna quit. It's like, oh, please don't quit. It's like wait, guys, I've got another idea. It's like, oh, no, not another idea. One more castle party. It's like, no, okay, all
right. Cool. And before we sort of move on to the next segment, just wanted to sort of ask you, what's next for you in terms of upcoming projects or collaborations that maybe we haven't covered yet?
Well, like I said, this one here, the Steampunk series, I'm working with Apollo Entertainment. I've done quite a lot of work with them. They're a digital production company. A friend of mine, again, the space is great because you meet amazing people, and the more IRL events you go to, the more time you get to spend with these people, and you find out who you really connect with and resonate with, and who you trust. And Nick and Danny from Apollo Entertainment are brilliant. So I've worked with them on a lot of different things. They're brilliant, and their team is brilliant. So that's this project here, which again I started about 2 years ago. I'm like the exact opposite of what an artist should be in this space. An artist in this space should be like, boom, 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 creating and working on the next thing. I literally work on 2-year projects. A 1-year project is a short-term project for me. So yeah, it's and then the CCTV camera. I've got some big ideas for that. So watch this space. But I move at a snail's pace compared to a lot of other people. And I think maybe that's my USP. You know, I think it's important. And that's what, even like with the Castle Party and these different projects with the Crypto Angels project, it gives me, when you take the time, not just even weeks or months, but years to work on something, to develop an idea, a creative vision, when you have the time to really kind of explore it and to build out on it, it will inevitably be something special. And what I've learned the last 4 or 5 years in the space is the times that I've rushed something and I've put something out too quick. I didn't take the time to really think about it, the why, the message, the mechanics. Why did I do this? I just dropped something. Inevitably, I'm disappointed. It's better to take time, even in a fast-paced, crazy Web3 space like this.
Cool. Your Steampunk project reminded me of some of the Steampunk masquerade balls I went to in San Francisco over the years. I don't know if you've ever been to any of those. It travels now, I believe, but you know, there was one in LA I went to as well with my girlfriend one of those years, where everyone's dressed up in steampunk gear. It's pretty fun. So something to look into that might draw you to the West Coast.
Very cool. Yeah, actually, the last Castle Party in just outside of Paris was a steampunk theme, and it was just amazing to see so many people come to the event with all their gear on. It was very, very special. It's a very cool genre.
Absolutely, yeah, very, very special indeed. So we want to get to know you better. So this is a great segue to our next segment, which is Edge Quick Hitters. So just when you're warmed up and overtired because it's so late, Edge Quick Hitters are a fun and quick way to get to know you a little bit better. There are 10 questions. We're looking for just a short, single, or few word response, but feel free to expand if you get the urge. And you already said you're ready, so I won't ask you again. What is the first thing you remember ever purchasing in your life?
I think it was a Judas Priest record. I think I was about 12 or 13 years old, and for some reason I must have liked a song, I heard it or something, and I ended up saving my allowance and saving for months, and I finally managed to buy the album. And I remember playing it, and I really didn't like the album at all. I thought that's the biggest disappointment ever. So I learned some valuable lessons.
Yeah, I have plenty of those types of early purchases where I'm like, what was I thinking? What is the first thing you remember ever selling in your life? Maybe it was that Judas Priest album. You're like, I want to get rid of this.
Yeah, they wouldn't. I couldn't return it, unfortunately. But what did I was still in high school. I think it was like grade 11 or 12. And my older brother, convinced me that I needed to join him in Amway. And I started selling Amway. And that was another devastating experience. I lasted a few months and was just embarrassed completely, trying to knock on neighbors' doors and teachers and sell them soap and shampoo. So
well, they say it's good practice for life, but I think I was selling AT&T services through some sort of Ponzi scheme that I didn't realize what I signed up for. And, you know, it's like, 4 hours of work turned into 14 per day. I was like, this is crazy. What is the most recent thing you purchased?
I can't remember. I don't, funnily enough, I don't really buy much food. You know,
Right.
I got street clothes.
You get it like, what are we talking about? Some pizza, like, you know, what was the last restaurant you went to?
That's one thing that we spend money on, is that we go to nice restaurants. So what did we go? We went to a seafood restaurant and had some beautiful seafood, a nice bottle of wine. We do get some nice seafood here on the shore in Edinburgh. So, also my wife, funnily enough, actually, my wife was a vegetarian for 25 years. And just in the last year, she started eating meat. And she's literally,
which is like, that's like amazing for you, right?
It was like the one thing, like we've been together for almost 10 years, I think now. And I was never allowed, or was seldom allowed to have a steak at home because she hated it. She's like, I just can't have that smell. And it's meat's getting everywhere. And now she is insatiable. Like she will eat meat every day. And I'm like, hun, I would like to have a salad tonight. Please, can we have a salad tonight?
Yeah, I'm only allowed to make burgers at home when my girlfriend's not here. So
Okay, I
can
feel your
relate.
pain.
All right. So what was the most recent thing you sold?
Probably my Bitcoin Angels. Actually, I've got one here. Just give me 2 seconds. I'll get one. This is one of the 21 Bitcoin Angel bronze cast sculptures, and they are super heavy. It weighs about 15 pounds, and 20 of them are on their way to New York City right now, and hopefully we'll be there by the time we arrive. But yeah, sold 21 of them for 87 ETH last month through tribal auctions.
Wow, with 87 ETH each or total?
No, total, yeah. I wish that would have been 2021 prices. It's a little bit different nowadays.
They're beautiful though, and congrats on that, and hopefully get some muscles lifting them and moving them around to
Yeah, absolutely.
to New York. What is your most prized possession?
My imagination.
That's great. If you could buy anything in the world, digital, physical, service experiences currently for sale, what would it be?
I love living in Scotland. We live in a nice little flat, but I would like to, we're talking about moving. I would like to buy a huge, beautiful house on the beach, overlooking the beach, modern house, giant windows, an amazing view. That would be my dream purchase. Fortunately, my wife wants to live somewhere in the mountains, so we're at a bit of a conflict.
There's got to be somewhere that combines those two. I'm gonna ask Perplexity AI for
Okay.
for a solution to that, and I'll share the answer. I have the premium subscription, so we'll see what it offers up.
Okay.
If you could pass on one of your personality traits to the next generation, besides your imagination, what would it be?
I think accountability. I think it's important. It's something that I really learned probably in my 30s, is how to be able to take responsibility for my actions, to put my hand up when I screw up and say I made a mistake and now I'm going to fix it. I think that's probably one of the best things somebody can learn. And the younger they learn that, the better.
And I think more of that is needed in the Web3 space for sure. So please do pass that on to this generation while you're at it. If you could eliminate one of your personality traits from the next generation, what would it be?
Probably jealousy. It's a killer. Yeah, it's not a good one, and we all suffer from it. I try to get better, but I mean, I think a little bit of jealousy, a little bit of competition, things like that are important to drive you as a creative, as a person, as an entrepreneur. But when it starts to consume you, it's destructive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally agree. That's another good one there. And what did you do just before joining us on the podcast?
I was working on a presentation that I'll be giving in Glasgow. So when we get back from Nashville, literally the very next day, there's a conference, Blockstart conference in Glasgow, and I'll be doing a presentation there. And I absolutely hate public speaking. I mean, I'm getting better at it now. Even like talking to you, I've never embraced these kinds of things, and then actually speaking in front of people live, it just kills me. So that's what I've been working on.
Well, I'd like to take some credit for the style of the interview, but I feel like you're a natural. So what it's worth.
It's been really good talking to you, and it's very comfortable. So thank you for that, definitely.
And what are you going to do next after the podcast? I think I know the answer to this one.
Yeah, I'm gonna go home. What time is it? 10. I'll get home at whatever, 10:30, 10:45. My wife and I have just started. She's a binge watcher, TV binge watcher series. So I've got her into Seinfeld, and she's watching Seinfeld now. And so every night we'll watch like a couple Seinfeld episodes. So I'll probably go home, watch some Seinfeld, and then go to bed.
There you go. We're binge watching all the shows on Netflix that have gotten Emmy awards. And by the way, let me just give a shout out to my dear friend David Bianchi, whose Razor Web3 film or miniseries production just got Emmy nominated. So let's go, film 3.
Amazing. Fantastic. Well done.
So we usually have a bonus question, and I'm inspired to ask you if there's a particular film or series where you can just watch over and over again because you enjoy it so much and it brings you sort of lightness and enjoyment.
Probably Friends. Again, I think it's my wife's favorite. She can actually literally recite word for word. I mean, she's fanatical. She's Polish, and I think she learned how to speak English partly from her dad would bring back, this is early communist Poland in the 80s, and he would bring back VHS tapes. He brought back like stand-up comedy with Eddie Murphy and Richard Pryor. So my wife swears like a sailor, but also she learned a lot of her English from Friends. So she even has like a little bit of a Friends accent to her. So yeah, that's what I tend to watch Friends when I just want to chill out and have a laugh and wind down from the Web3 space.
Nice. It's a classic and one of the best done series, I would say, in the space. So that's a good one. So before we wrap, we love to give our guests a chance to do a shout out. And this is sort of to someone in your world that maybe doesn't get as much spotlight attention, but is very important to who you are and what you do. Who comes to mind?
I've actually mentioned them both already. Well, my team, David and Martin, are amazing. And, they just always very supportive of all my crazy ideas and work exceptionally hard to help me see these creative visions come true. And of course, my wife, Violet, who always keeps me laughing and always keeps me entertained and puts up with me and always working. So yeah, a shout out to those guys.
All right, indeed. Well, it's not hard to find Trevor on the World Wide Web. Just go to trevorjonesart.com and you can kind of go down the rabbit hole from there, find Trevor on X and IG and everywhere else. I assume, Trevor, folks can get to you by going to your website.
Yeah, best thing is my website, and you can just find me at Trevor Jones Art everywhere. When I first decided to become an artist, I wanted trevorjones.com, but there was a famous composer, Hollywood composer, and South African, I think, and his name is Trevor Jones, my arch nemesis. So now, sometimes I'll be like Googling, Google Trevor Jones art, and you'll see this picture of this kind of 75-year-old South African guy that says Trevor Jones NFT artist. So yeah, I'm Trevor Jones art everywhere.
All right. Well, we have reached the outer limit at the edge of NFT for today. Thanks for exploring with us. We've got space for more adventures on the Starship. So invite your friends or recruit some cool strangers that'll make this journey all so much better. How? If you're listening right now, go to Spotify or iTunes or YouTube or Myco and rate us and say something awesome. Join over 150,000 other followers by hitting the subscribe or follow button and passing this episode on to a friend or two. And remember, if you check us out on myco.io, that's myco.io, you can not only watch but earn for your time and attention. Lastly, be sure to tune in next time for more great Web3 content. Thanks again for sharing this time with us today, audience, and thank you, Trevor.
The views and opinions expressed on Edge of NFT reflect solely those views and opinions of the show hosts and its guests. Please make sure to do your own research. Our show is not financial advice. You understand that you are using any and all information available on or through this podcast at your own risk. Whenever making financial decisions, we recommend doing your own research and talking to your accountant for financial advice. From time to time, we may feature sponsored content on the show for which we receive value, and we may share links for which we receive a commission if you make a purchase through one of those links. Refer to our website, www.edgeofnft.com, for our full disclaimer, terms and conditions, and privacy policy.